So the very first thing that I really want to just start off here, and some of these things may be rudimentary, but I think I like to look at things as foundation, and then what do we want to focus on to get us in the right position to get the maximum ROI. So this may seem rudimentary, but as I explain it, it may not seem it. So we're looking at, silver and gold are gone. Bye-bye. See you later. Adios, right? You can't renew them anymore. They finally, we've been threatening this for about, 4 years now? Well, silver and gold's going to go away. Remember when the super SPDs came out? Oh, you got 6 months, and then that's going away, right? And then they realized, oh, criminy, no, it doesn't go away. Yeah. And so finally, they are pushing this out. And it's very important that we do achieve that because we're going to lose out on a lot of things. But so these are the 4 new partner levels at Microsoft. This is kind of how you look at it. And if you're an infrastructure partner, this is really important for you. If you're a Dynamics partner, this is very important for you. If you're an ISV who is attending today, this doesn't necessarily apply, okay? It's only the first 2 are going to apply, and then we'll talk about how you maximize your benefits as an ISV going down there. But so very quickly, very simply, membership. What is that? Hey, you got an MPN ID. This is like, we're just starting out. Hey, I want to be a Microsoft partner, right? You got an MPN ID, and then what do you get from that? Well, you get access to marketing, okay, and access to Microsoft Learn, right? Okay, great. Sounds good. Okay, perfect. Thank you. I'm not really doing anything else, right? And you're still confused. Right now, partner success level is saying, okay, hey, you got an MPN ID, and then you finally figured out who to talk to buy and sell licensing through a distributor. Great, you aligned with the distributor. We suggest Arrow. We love Arrow. Arrow is doing an amazing job. If you're looking for a distributor or you're unhappy with your current one, let us know. We'll get you in touch with the VP over at Arrow. They are doing some lights out things with what they're doing. We love them very, very much. They're a great, great distributor. And I can say that because I don't have to be agnostic. I think they're the best of the rest. So partner success, you've aligned with them, and now you're starting to sell CSP, right? You're starting to sell CSP licensing. You're selling Azure. You're selling Microsoft 365, Modern Work. You're selling Dynamics. You are going through a distributor to get the licenses. And then what do you get as a partner? Well, you get the margin. Okay, and what is the margin? Margin is the discount over MSRP that you're getting from the CSP. And what do? Okay, I bought it for $20. I'm getting it for 18 or whatever the thing is, and that's your margin. That's what you're making on selling licensing. Okay, so the good and bad about that is, yeah, you're starting to make a little money, but it's pennies on the dollar. It's almost negligible, right? To actually do that, right? To make money on that end, but as Microsoft likes to say, there's always a 10-to-1 ratio with the money you make, right? You sell it for $1, you're making $10 in implementation, right? But frankly, is that correct? I don't know. I would say that's probably more around 5 to 6 times, maybe even less. All depends on what you're doing, right? But okay, partner success, great. Okay, I got that, right? Now, the next level, which is really taking over for silver and gold, is that solution partner designation. Okay, and why this is important is because if you think about it, and as I mentioned in the very beginning, there's 6,000 new workloads. It made sense that they got rid of silver and gold because if you said you're a gold Azure partner, okay, well, heck, there's 5,000 new workloads in Azure. How's it possible you're that good at all 5,000? You're not. So Microsoft actually did a pretty good thing when they're saying, okay, hey, there are 6 different areas. You want to specialize in 1 or 2 of them. There's modern work, which you should all do because you are selling Office 365, and then you want to pick one of the Azure ones or a security one, right? So you go through that, you get your solution partner designation. Now, what does this do for you as far as it comes to incentives? Let's talk about that. So it allows you now to get this thing called backend incentives, okay? And it's called a residual compensation, a residual. For some of you that are in the telecom world and come back like, what does this actually mean? So what it does, it says, okay, hey, by the way, if you have the solution partner designation, we're going to give you the equivalent of gold level IURs. Cool, 100 licenses, E3s, get a bunch of Azure, you get every single server application. Awesome, okay, that's great. But now what you get is back-end residual, and that's the important piece of the solution partner designation. You get the back-end residual, which comes down to I'm getting anywhere between 2 to 30% at some times, right? Plus accelerators. Okay, to actually just do the actual thing. So the way I look at it is what I count on, and I like to be pragmatic about it, okay, is to take your licensing and attach a 6 to 8%, and I would even go around 6% as a back end residual that you're going to earn that you can start counting on when you're starting to look at your revenue, what you're bringing in. Now a caveat to this though too is depending on whether you're a bigger partner or a smaller partner depends on how that money is divided up. Okay, so I'll give you the example of it. So Microsoft says, look, if you're a smaller partner and you have less than $10,000 in earnings, okay, they're just going to stroke you a check every 6 months. Here's a check, 10 grand. There you go. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. We're not going to talk to you about MDF. Now, as you go above that $10,000 mark, okay, now you trigger this thing called co-op. And this is market development funds, Microsoft's idea of market development funds. So the easy way of explaining that is, okay, now you got $10,001, basically 6,000, because it's always a 60-40 split, 6,000 of that will come to you every 6 months in a nice little check. Boom, boom, boom. These are the checks, those deposits you get from Microsoft that you have no idea what they are. You get that, but you get those on a monthly basis, but they accrue over 6 months, okay? And then the 40% that you have left, the other $4,000, and this is just round numbers here, that's going to go into what's called your MDF bucket, okay? Now, a couple things to understand. If you, and you have 6 months to use it, okay? If you don't use that MDF, you know what happens? Microsoft says, thank you, really appreciate it. We're going to take that money back, and they keep it for themselves. Now, here at the Crancer Group, we are staunchly defenders of every dollar that you made. We make sure that you're able to claim it. Okay, very important, right? A lot of companies, I can't tell you, we've probably uncovered in the past year about $1 million over about 15 partners, about $1 million in money that they would have lost or they had lost because they didn't even know about co-op. It's unbelievable, right? You got to make sure you maximize it and you use it. Otherwise, Microsoft, you lose it, right? Okay, so Microsoft says, okay, and so part of also the solution, part of designation, you get access, if you're a security partner, you get access to, I think there's 2 or 3, Andre says there are 3 assessments, I think, in MCI. I think so, for like security.
For security, yeah, there's 2 or 3. There's a data security. There's also an assessment that you can do as well. Security has a couple available to you. I really think business applications is the one that a lot of people don't take advantage of, that comes with a lot of engagements. But again, a lot of us aren't necessarily focused. That's not our area of focus, right? Azure, as I'm sure you're about to get to, Sherman, you got to get specialization. I mean, there's just not really much around that, unfortunately.
And thank you. Now, how many Dynamics partners do we have on here? Can you guys just go to the chat window and give me a thumbs up or something so I can, because I want to make sure we talk about some of the Dynamics stuff if possible. Just go to the chat window, give me a thumbs up or a hand or whatever you are, just so that I can make sure that we touch on that if we have any Dynamics partners on the call. Okay, thank you, Andres. So yeah, so what I meant by the assessments and what Andres was just talking about is you get access to your security, 2 or 3 of them. Right? There's 2 or 3, and that's like $5,000 or $6,000 to do an assessment. Great. Okay. But really what you want to focus on is the advanced specialization. Okay. That is up here, specialization and an expert offer. And they took advanced offer. They just call it specialization, but this is where you want to go. And there's a reason why you want to go here. It's because this opens up the thousands and hundreds of thousands of buckets of money. Right now, for the 3 that are underneath advanced specialization, there's not a whole lot of money there, right? There you get the back-end rebate. Okay, cool. But where you get the money is in the advanced specialization. Now, let me explain this. And when we work with our partners, our whole goal is to get every partner we work with up to the highest level possible, okay? There's a reason why we want to get you to the highest level possible, because not only does it unload hundreds of thousands of dollars in money that you can start claiming, but it also allows you to work with Microsoft sellers. There's this new thing called rules of engagement. Okay, not new thing, but it's about a year and a half old. Now, I want you to take very special attention to this rules of engagement piece. Okay, take very special attention to this. Now, Microsoft says, okay, or not Microsoft, but let me paint the scenario for you. Several years ago or 2 years ago, before they put this in, Microsoft sellers would get 200-300 emails a week from every partner and their mother and their brother. Hey, give me a deal, give me a deal, give me a deal, give me a deal, right? Give me a deal. And, the sellers would typically find 2 or 3 partners that they work with, and they would just kind of ignore the rest of them, right? And then there was a lot of channel conflict right there. And so I think, Microsoft kept telling the sellers, hey, you got to work with a partner. You got to work with a partner. And why do they want to work with a partner? Because Microsoft figured out there was a 17% compound annual growth rate inside of a company if a seller worked with a partner and did a joint sell together motion. They knew that. Microsoft knew that. Corporate knew that. Kept telling their sellers, hey, work with them. But the sellers pushed back and said, well, hey, number one, we get too many people calling up. Number two, we don't know if they're qualified. We don't know if they can work with us. We don't know if they understand the cloud adoption framework. We don't understand if they know that, right? Okay, well, okay. So Microsoft said, okay, we're going to put this new rules of engagement in place for infrastructure partners. Okay, we're going to say that they have to get the advanced specialization. They have to have co-sell marketplace offers in the market, and they have to start using co-sell deal registration to be able to start working with our sellers. So what I'm saying about special attention is if you are under the guise of wanting to work with a Microsoft seller, okay, with your company and really make that next step, you have to have the advanced specialization. Otherwise, you're not going to be noticed. Now, what it also does when you attain advanced specialization, and this is why the marketplace is so important, is because now it puts you into a special dropdown. So let's say a partner wants to talk with an exchange or I don't know, an infrastructure partner in San Francisco, an SMC seller does. So the SMC seller will then go to the marketplace. They're going to search by specialization, and then they're going to search by geographic location. Now, if you have the advanced specialization and you're in that geographic location, you might be one of 2 partners that are on that list. And that's how you get brought into deals that Microsoft, that's like the new way of, hey, I got a deal, I got a referral. Okay. However, there are some nuances to the marketplace to actually make it work very well. But so that's one piece of that advanced specialization that I think is so important. But the second piece of that is it gives you access to installation funds. Okay, it gives you access to bounties and accelerators. Now, I'm going to talk to you about this. The foundation for growth and profitability really starts with solution partner designation. Okay, that's where it starts. That's what we got to get to. Next is advanced specialization. Those are the basics. That's what you have to do to maximize any of your incentives in marketplace. Then it's marketplace offers is the third step. We have to get at minimum three offers in the marketplace that are vertically specific, but also aligned with Microsoft sales plays. Super important. Sales plays. Super, super important. Okay. If your offer is just, hey, we do migration. Well, that doesn't align with what Microsoft is selling. And really, frankly, the only people that are looking at the Microsoft marketplace are Microsoft sellers. I don't know. I'd be curious. Anybody here got a referral from the marketplace? Why are they still doing the regional selection? Okay, I'll get to that 1 second, Eric. Good question. But yeah, I mean, they look in the marketplace. So that's where you have to stand out. You have to stand out in the way that they understand that you understand what their sales plays are, right? Or it's vertically specific, right? You want to do that, okay? Then last piece of it to really maximize your benefits is you really have to use this thing called co-sell and the seller to seller, right? Deal registration. You have to have a solution partner designation. You don't need specialization required. I think that's a mistake. I apologize for that. But you need to have the SPD at minimum. And I would actually say that to really get the right acceptance rate, you would have to have the advanced. Now I'm recorrecting my correction. You don't have to have it, but in order to get a high acceptance rate, you have to have the advanced specialization. Okay, that's what's really important. So that's foundation, growth, and profitability. But let me explain this to you. Let me break it down into actual dollars and cents. Okay, because I think this is what really helps us figure out why we would want to do this. Okay, so what this is showing us is on the left-hand side. Whoops.
Sure, Sherman, if you wouldn't mind sharing your screen so everybody could see the data as well.
Thank you. I thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, we're back to sharing screens. Okay, all right. Very good. Okay, so we're back on the screen now. So what I'm going to do, this is the previous slide I had was that was the maximizing the benefits. Now, okay, this one I want to show you. Okay, so on the left-hand side, this is what you get for solution partner designation. Okay, so we know. So if you did, okay, and this is an example of $100,000 VDI deal. Okay, virtual desktop infrastructure. There's a lot of things that very, very similar to this, but I like to use this as a good way of kind of explain this. So on the left-hand side, on a $100,000 VDI deal, Microsoft says, look, now this is outside of your margin. So you're already getting 15% margin, right, from your distributor. Okay, so they're saying, okay, for a net new ad, they're going to give you 15% of the first year incentive plus the CSP and indirect accelerators. That's 21 points that you're going to be making if you have a solution partner designation. But that's it. That's all you're going to get. Okay. What's important to note is look on the right side. Okay, this is where it blows you away. If you had the advanced specialization for the same exact deal, you stack these. You're getting that 21, but you're also now we can get $4,000 to $5,000 to just do an assessment. Then we can ask Microsoft, hey, we need a 10-to-1 ratio. If it's 100,000, I want $10,000 to $15,000 in deployment funds. I can to basically offset deployment, right? Now figure this. How much of a competitive advantage would it be if you went to your client and you're working against two other clients or two other vendors, and you're saying, hey, Microsoft believes in us so much that they're going to write down your installation cost by X. Talk about a competitive advantage. I mean, that's a big deal in my opinion, right? So you can ask for that money. But then on top of that, look at the right. It says, okay, if you brought in a net new VDI deal, okay, they're going to give you a $9,000 bounty, like saying, thank you very much for bringing that net new VDI deal from Citrix or whoever they're bringing it from, right? And then they're saying, hey, over this next year, we're going to give you 30% of the partner attributable ACR. So at $100,000, that's 30 grand. Okay, now let me show you dollars and cents on this one. Oops. Okay, look at that, dollars and cents. On the left-hand side, you're making $21,000 that first year. But if you had the advanced specialization, now you're looking at $5,000 for the assessment, and then for the MCI engagement, you can ask for $15,000 to do the deployment. It says 20 grand. They give you 9 grand plus the 30. Now on that same deal in the first year, you're making $81,000. Okay, $81,000. So who here? I mean, and tell me, does anybody have any thoughts on this? I'm curious. Did you know how much money there was available in advanced specialization? Go to the chat window. Let's see if anyone has any thoughts or opinions. I'm curious. Or if somebody wants to come off of mute, I'd like to hear if this is actually something that is an eye opener. I don't know, Andres. We've talked to a lot of folks about this, and when you're talking to them, what is typically the feedback that you get from folks?
I think the first feedback is there's a lot of concern regarding the claiming process. Partners, PI used to be a thing, right, where you would claim, and there was typically this monster effort to go get funds, and you spend more time trying to get the dollars than you actually, received in value back. So that's the first initial. And then the second thing I hear a lot from partners is, I mean, we're just so far away, and I don't even know what I need to do to even get there, that I just don't, it's not even top of mind. But then all of a sudden you jump into their portal, you take a look, and you say, you add 2 certs, you add 1 customer, all of a sudden we just need to do an audit. So it's not as far as you might think it is. I mean, in some cases it is, right? Because there is a certain tier you got to get to. But for a lot of partners, you've been in the space for a little while, you're growing, it may not be as unattainable as you think it is. And there's definitely, 81,000 reasons for you to figure it out.
That's a great thing. Deborah, hey, why don't you come off of mute, or let's let Deborah come off of mute and video. Did you have a question or a thought?
Yeah, so I'll just come off of mute here. So this is good reason just to kind of have a CSP motion, right? So, but I need to figure out, how do I do that? Is that next, or am I jumping ahead, or is that something that you guys offer suggestions on? What do we do to be set up so that we're a CSP? My previous company already had it set up, so I don't really know what it took.
Oh yeah. No problem at all. Actually, it's relatively easy to do that. You just have to align with the distributor, and basically we'll go into Partner Center. We'll align with the distributor. You talk to and you establish a relationship, right? So Arrow, keep talking about Arrow. We can get you in touch with them. You can align with them, get that. They'll get you the catalog, and then you'll start ordering through them, and that's kind of the start of the whole CSP motion. You have to set up billing. That's going to be another thing. And now there are some distributors that do offer billing too. I don't know if someone's on the Arrow from Arrow. I don't know if you guys do that, but I know another distributor, Pax8, does. So that used to be a rub a long time ago, but it's actually very simple. Contact a distributor, establish their relationship inside a partner center, and then you'll be aligned, and then that's going to help trigger the way of reporting. Now, reporting it isn't always exact, right, when it comes to that. So that's why we have to hold people accountable to that. Does that make sense, Deborah?
Yeah, I guess I would need more information. I don't know if you have a link to anything. I'll try and look on the, you know, uh, docs.microsoft also to see if they have anything about starting up as a CSP. But then the other side of it is, what customers would be interested in utilizing that. I mean, some of the enterprise customers, they already have their Azure infrastructure. I don't know that they're too inclined to go the CSP route, but a lot of what's now the SMENC, what used to be SMB, SMC, the SMENC, I guess is what it's called, small, medium, enterprise
enterprise and
customers.
corporate.
Yeah, the N doesn't stand for anything. It's just part of enterprise. Yeah. Those customers would, I'm gonna guess, you could tell me, those would be more inclined to go this CSP route because they may not have the funds or infrastructure set up. Is that fair?
So I'm glad you brought that up, because that's something that we're definitely going to talk about. But I'm going to go ahead and hit it right now, though, because this is
great.
important.
Thank you.
There was three different groups that you used to be able to sell into, right? There was SMB, which is 0 to 500 users. That's kind of how they look at it. Then there's SMC, which is 500 to 2,500 users. And then there's Enterprise, which is 2,500 users and above. Now, in SMB, there's no corporate coverage for SMB. That's why they're the partner channel. SMC typically has a 1 to 50 ratio. They have one partner or sales executive. There's a overlay for Azure, a specialist, right? And they might have a cloud solution architect. Okay, they might have that on the as a thing, right? So there's three. Now, in enterprise, there's typically 7 to 8 people that are assigned to every deal. Now, in the past, Microsoft really discouraged SMB partners or Microsoft partners to go above 500 seats. They kind of discouraged it. They really wanted to do everything on enterprise agreements, and they were using using companies like Crayon or SoftChoice. They would, do the enterprise agreement to be a 3-year lock-in, and there was a lot of channel conflict because partners would be going up into the 500s. They start to sell them licensing, and then the Microsoft rep got a wind of it. They came in, they're like, "Oh no, I'll just snap you down by 50%." And they give the 3-year deal, right? So things have changed significantly. Okay, we've been hearing about, this is another thing to be careful to note. We've been hearing about this for a few years, okay, which is any between the SMC, which is 500 to 25, their enterprise agreements are no longer going to be able to be renewed. Been hearing this for a long time, right? Hearing it. And even a month ago, I've had partners say, "Oh, I think it's a bunch of crap. I don't think it's going to come about." And the reality is, it has not just come about. Now there's an actual motion in place where you can go inside a partner center and look at all of your customers to actually find which ones have EAs and which ones have EA renewals coming up, because Microsoft wants you to do the transfer from that EA to CSP. It's actually in the partner center today. It's crazy. They just rolled it out a couple of days ago, but there's a way to find your client, find out when that enterprise agreement is expiring, and then convert them to CSP. Okay. Now, super, super important. There's a lot of new rules of engagement that come along with that. How to claim it. You want to go in there and claim that your company quicker than later. Don't let that sit, because you don't want another partner to come in and claim it. They can go ahead and try to claim that that's going to be their account when it goes from enterprise to CSP. So with that being said, to Deborah's point here, it is really important to think about, okay, I don't have to do just CSP for SMB clients. I can actually do it for clients now that are between 500 and 2,500 seats. Now, over 2,500 seats in the enterprise arena, you're not going to, and Microsoft doesn't want you to sell CSP. They're going to still do the EAs in that realm of that because they have a massive team. Now, what can you get? Okay, what can you get? Well, you can get this thing called attribution. Okay, and that's still important for your organization. So, for example, if you're working with Bank of America, good example here. Okay, and they have a $10 million Azure commitment. Okay, now, and you go in there and you're one of 8 vendors that are working on their Azure thing because they're going to have a lot of vendors working on different projects. Well, what you can do is get credit for the Azure consumption you're influencing. So let's say you are doing a modern data warehouse project for Bank of America, and out of that 10 million, your consumption that you're influencing is 2 of that $10 million. Okay, well, you're not going to get a back-end residual payment on that because it's part of an EA agreement. But what you do is you use this thing called PAL, Partner Admin Link. And what that's going to do is going to say to Microsoft, you're influencing $2 million worth of Azure. Now, what does that do? That brings you up the rungs of important partner status, right? Because the partners who don't do that, and they say, gosh, I'm influenced, I'm doing so much business with Microsoft. Why aren't they looking at me? Well, they aren't looking at you because you don't have anything that tells them that you're inside of that deal. So super, super important to make sure that anything that is on an enterprise agreement currently that you're influencing is you use the partner admin link, okay, to actually get attribution for that stuff. In the past, you used to have to run a script, a PowerShell script, where you'd put in the NPN ID inside of the Azure tenant, and it'd give you for that. I think today there's a couple of quicker ways to do it. I don't know, Andres, are they still doing the script to add PAL, or is it more streamlined?
It should be relatively simple. I mean, if you look online for the directions, they basically just have to go into their Azure portal and add your NPN as the partner of record for whatever resources you're influencing. So it shouldn't be too complex. I don't know if that's what you're referring to, Sherman.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a typical process. I did want to maybe switch gears real quickly, Sherman, because I think Eric asked a really good question, because we are talking to resellers a lot.
Yeah.
But he was asking from the ISV perspective, what are some potential funding opportunities that are out there? Now, the programs are not going to be the exact same, but there is quite a bit of dollars available for these newer designations. These came out, I believe, at the beginning of this year. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's right. And they call them Solutions Partner with Certified Software. So this is for ISVs that are building on the Microsoft stack inside of Azure, inside of modern work, business applications, and security. You've got an IP co-sell offer that's available. You meet certain requirements. The rung is high, so you do need to be driving a good chunk of business. But if that's your game and you're not reselling CSP licensing, I can understand this would be your method to get in, and you qualify. Well, it's going to be very similar to a specialization in that it's going to come with a lot of added benefits, some potential MDF and programs that you could leverage. Now, again, these are all different depending on whichever path you're trying to take. But if you haven't taken a look and you haven't looked at the requirements, I would recommend it because these are newer programs. You might not be as aware of what's going on there. Manju, you got a question on that?
Yes. So with the PALs, say if we have created business solutions in the past, is there a way to get the PAL recognized or put
Yep.
into our partner?
So it actually has to be done by the customer. You can't if you have access to their portal, you could, I guess, do it. I would definitely get a blessing first because they're going to get a notification about it. But yeah, even if it's backtracked, you won't get, credit from 2 years ago per se, because again, it's not coming with rebates anyways. But moving forward from the time that you get added, they will be your customer from that point moving forward, if that makes any sense. So you can absolutely do that.
Yeah, and Manju, for you, that might be really, really worth it, right? To do because you have a lot of clients that you've worked with in the past and that you've influenced, and then that would take you right up the rung of attribution, and then help you qualify for solution partner designations. It's really, really important to do it.
So I go back to those businesses and say, I would like to continue that business, that solution that I created.
Yeah, well, I think you'd go back to, if as long as you have a good relationship with him, and you say, look, I'm trying to get recognition for some of the work that I've done with you and for you on this Azure portal, and Microsoft asks that my partner ID gets attached to that portion that I influenced, and you just have to explain it like that. Do you mind if we go and walk you through that?
Okay, okay. And also, like in my designation, I don't see any past enterprises or whatever. Is that the reason why, right? I don't see any companies that I worked in.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't have any association. Either you didn't sell the licenses or they're on EA, but you didn't associate that. Now, if you sold licenses to them via your distributor and you don't have them in your partner portal, that's a Seaport issue, right? That's a partner of record issue. And then what we have to do is go back to each customer and say, hey, I'm going to send you a link. Can you just press on that link to approve me as your partner? And then it starts coming in, and that's how you match them up. But that's probably the reason why you don't have any association.
Correct. So yeah, I mean, I didn't sell any licenses. That's true. I created the solutions basically.
Okay. So what you'd want to do is look for the stuff that you did attribute that you influenced. That's the thing. That's the key.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. And
Cool.
reach out to those companies, correct?
Yep. And then do
Okay.
that. So Deborah
Mhm.
actually asked a question: where can we find the info on the benefits for the solution partner, certified partner? So we sent you. I think we're sending you there's a deck there. However, the main place to go in Partner Center is under MCI engagements, and that's I think it's under incentives, right, Andres? Where it's under the incentives.
The master guide is, yeah, like the 250-page MCI incentives guide, commercial partner incentives guide. That's where you're going to find all of the information. But yeah, the problem is that hasn't been updated since October, I don't believe. So, if there's new changes, I'm not sure if it's going to be reflected in there. That's the question.
Yeah, but you can go into Partner Center, and the best way to do is to map what's available to you, and go into Partner Center, going into incentives, and then from incentives you're going to see MCI programs, and then you'll click on the MCI, and then when you go to MCI, you're going to have 4 tabs. You're going to have Biz Apps, Azure, Modern Work, and Security. You'll click on any one of those 4 apps, and then whatever comes up that there's a green check mark next to, that means you're eligible for those particular MCI incentives. Now, you're going to find out if you're a solution partner designation, there really isn't a whole lot in there, right? But and I'm sharing my screen again. Let me show you. I have a couple examples of Azure. So Azure partner incentives, right? So the way they look at this, I'm just going to throw some quick examples of here. There's solution plays. I want you to pay special attention to solution plays, because that's what we have to get your marketplace to look like, right? Solution plays that you align with. But there are assessments under Inspire and Design. If you have the specialization, Azure Migrate and Modernize, 5,000. Azure Migrate and Modernize Assessments, $5,000. Azure Innovate, $8,000. Then there's a Realizing the Value. So there's deployment funds that are allowable to you. And this is one of those that are inside of those guides. If I look at the FY25 ISV view, this is for ISVs. This is really great, because now you actually have the opportunity, Azure sponsorship, right? With additional scenario AI hackathons, up to $100,000 per request. There's a lot of things in there. AMM ISV customer migration and modernization, up to $50,000 per activity. There are a lot of ISV opportunities here. You have to be part of the ISV success program. You got to get into that. You got to do some things that are available to you, but there is so much money that is available to you if you climb up the right rungs. This is another example of the Azure Migrate and Modernize for system integrators, right? So if you look at this, what they do is they break them up into extra small, medium, large, XL, XXL, right? And you're looking at 10 to 25,000 a year, 125 to 250,000 a year. There's eligibility, there's partner payout, which it tells you, and that's based on the size of the organization. And these are good. Now, the cool thing about the MCI stuff is actually, if you follow the rules of engagement, you might be saying, well, I'm never going to get this money, because in the past you had to fill out, 45 pages in triplicate to get it. For MCI engagements, it's different than ESIP. It's actually pretty straightforward, and the funding comes very, very quickly as long as you do follow the narrative, and you're not having to submit 55 pages of execution documents. Now, that's different for end customer investment funds. If you're working with a Microsoft seller and they're going to fund you, then you got a large workload in front of you to get those done. Okay, so this is just another example of that. Microsoft Defender for Cloud, another example of selling this particular type of model and what you can get on the partner payout. This is all because you have what? Advanced specialization, and that's what's really important. Let me go to the next one. There's an Azure CSP opportunity. Now, this is kind of cool because I think the difference here, and actually, Andres, you were explaining this to me even better, but discuss the margin that you're getting versus this payout, because I think there's a confusion. That 15% is the same as the margin you get from your distributor, but is this on top of that?
This is on top of it. Yeah, no, Microsoft is making a massive push. If you look at the dollars and cents that they allocated to the different programs, they put a significant amount of money into the Azure space because they see that as a growing part of the business. And so I think they're doing the same thing from a rebate standpoint. Now, what you'll notice is you've got your 4% baseline. That's just if you've got an SPD, you're always going to be earning a minimum 4% on the back end through your CSP Azure consumption. On top of that, they've got specific accelerators for different workloads, and most importantly for an AI accelerator. So you get to pick. So for example, I think Azure Virtual Desktop, or you see on the bottom, you have it right there, Sherman. Actually, I didn't see that. Those from specialized compute all the way through Microsoft Defender for Cloud, those are workload accelerators where if you're selling those specific SKUs, you get an additional 3% on top of your 4. And if you're using an AI one specifically, you would actually get 4 plus the 7. So you choose between the 3 or the 7, right? On top of that, if it's a brand new account or workload that they've never utilized before, you also then get an additional 15% for the first year with that customer as well. So you could theoretically, let's say it's an AI accelerator for a new Azure customer, you could theoretically be earning 26% on the back end. It's nuts. It's a big number. So this is why getting a solution designation is so critical, because if you don't have it, you miss out on all of this.
Thanks, Andres. No, that was a really great explanation here. All right, so I'm going to change gears to get into the marketplace, okay? Because part of what we're talking about, remember, the first thing is we got to get a solution partner designation. The next one is we have to get an advanced specialization, and this is to maximize all your ROI. And the third one is this marketplace. Everyone's talking about marketplace. We've been hearing about for a while. The first thing I want to look at is there's two different theories here. There's one for infrastructure or biz apps partners, and then there's a different theory for the ISVs. Okay, so what it's meant to do is showcase your value to Microsoft sellers. Let's just cut the crap here. Don't expect any customers to find you this way. Okay, I'm giving you brass tacks. I don't work for Microsoft anymore, so I can say it this way. Don't expect any customers to come this way. It's just not going to happen, right? You need to have offers tied to your SPDs and advanced specialization. That's what's really important here. Don't put just a regular offer out there, right? And then you need to have 3 pieces of media. So remember when I was telling you about how we get 96% acceptance rate for all of our deal registrations? It's because we understand what the Microsoft seller is looking for. What are they looking for? Dependability, right? The ability to do that using the cloud adoption framework, all these different things. But you need to have 3 pieces in there. I would put a PowerPoint, I would put an infographic, and I put a testimonial. That's what I would do to really make your marketplace offer really good. But they have to be tied to the solution designation that you have, so that when a Microsoft seller looks you up, or if you need to validate who you are with Microsoft seller, bam, you're in a really good spot. Okay, now for ISVs, a little bit different. Okay, and this is actually what you have to do to qualify to get really into the program where Microsoft sellers are going to help you out. First, it's meant to showcase your value, right? Don't expect any customers to come in here. But you need to have your offers, once again, tied to your SPDs, and you need to have that. But you have to run your business through the marketplace. So for an ISV, you have a piece of software, okay? The idea is to not just publish that offer into the marketplace, but you need to get that offer what's called co-sell, IP co-sell ready and incentivized. Okay, what I mean by IP co-sell ready is after you create your initial offer in the marketplace for your app, right, that you want to sell, you're going to have to submit it to Microsoft. You're going to submit, the actual application to Microsoft for them to do a review. After they do their audit and they do their review, then it becomes IP co-sell ready. Now I'm truncating a lot of steps to this, but the idea is to become IP co-sell ready. Now, when you hit a certain level of business that's running through the marketplace, then you become IP co-sell ready incentivized, which means Microsoft sellers will now get compensated for selling your actual product or your piece of software. Okay, that's what they do, right? Now, there's a cost to this though. Okay, so there's a 3% cost to having your offer in the marketplace. So you have to think about that when you are looking at your margins. You have to think about that. Okay, I got to add 3%, to my offer to make sure I'm making up for the cost to run it through. Okay, now why is this important? Okay, for an ISV seller. Well, Microsoft has this thing, and why this is really kind of cool, called the MAC agreement. This is the Microsoft Azure commitment. I'll give you an example. Bank of America, we're using them again. They have the $10 million Azure spend, and Microsoft comes to them and says, hey, Bank of America, you're doing a great job. We love you. We want to give you a discount. And Bank of America says, okay, what do you mean? And it says, well, if you buy Azure at $8 million a year for the next 3 years, we will we'll put you in a contract and we'll give you that nice little discount. Bank of America goes, great, awesome, let me do it, right? They sign up. Now, what they're finding is that there's a lot of customers that are under those commitments. So Bank of America may say, oh, they only have 6 million, right, this year to do. Well, Microsoft says, great, you still stroke me a check for that other 2 million, whether you use it or not. So what Microsoft also did is they recognized that this was an issue, and this is great for ISVs. Because if you have a product in the market that's an ISV product that is in the market, that is IP co-sell ready, you can actually sell that to Bank of America, and they can use the portion of dollars that they haven't used in that commitment to pay for your application. It's beautiful. You don't have to find any extra budget. And in Partner Center, you can basically find, there's a super secret way that you can find if they have a MAC commitment or not. And then you can sell against that. Super, super important. Now, also, as an ISV, you want to get the attention of the Microsoft sellers. And frankly, you won't get it unless you're IP co-sell ready as well as incentivized. So that's really important. I'm going to pause here to see if there's any questions on the marketplace and why it's important. Okay, cool. All right. The last piece here, and this is the last keys to the castle, and this is what's everyone asks about. How do I work with Microsoft sellers? How do I get more action? How do I get in front of them? Everyone asks me that all the time, and I'm like, well, do you have the, remember on the infrastructure side, you have to be advanced specialized, get the keys to the castle, or on the ISV, you have to be in the ISV success program, and you got to get to IP co-sell incentivized. That's kind of what you got to do to kind of get with them. But the main thing here is you have to think about this. When your practice has gotten mature enough to say, hey, I want to work with Microsoft sellers, you have to put together what we call a go-to-market motion. So we do this with all of our companies. We're like, okay, you want to do this? Great. Now, the first thing and foremost, this is most important, is co-sell deal registration. You actually have to go through Microsoft and you have to actually start doing deal registration, which is basically, I have a deal inside of this, because what you're doing is you're showing Microsoft, and there's a scoring system based on how many of these that you do, okay? There's a scoring system, which then shows the potential Microsoft seller, hey, this is a company to work with. They are following the rules. If you're just doing one, you're probably not going to get accepted. You got to keep pushing these things through. So that's really, really important. Now, the way I look at creating a go-to-market motions is there's 3 different levels, okay, that you want to think about. The first level of go-to-market is you want to look at all your seller to seller. That's going to be your low-level, low-hanging fruit. Now, what I suggest to people, I say, okay, the last 2 years of business, in the last 2 years, I want you to give me a list of all of your clients that are in the SMC or above. Okay, why am I going to do that? Because I'm going to deal reg all of those. Not necessarily because we have new stuff to sell them, but because I want to be able to deal reg to let that seller know that I am the partner that is inside of that account. Right? I am the partner that's inside that account, and I'm the one that's going to help them. I want to get a meeting with them one-to-one and say, hey, how can we co-sell and work together? Next is executive level meetings. So you want to have the first motion of, I want to get all my sellers. Then the next one is, how do I get executive level meetings? How do I get meetings with their managers? How do I, and that's going to come with win wires. After you do seller to seller, you're going to have to get like 2 or 3 win wires. You have to look for repeatable success to actually get to that next level. Now, the third, and I call it the Valhalla moment, the Valhalla level of engagement with Microsoft sellers is the stew. And that's a specialist team unit. If you can get to the stew is basically a combination of Microsoft executives that look at partners and their offerings and seeing which ones are repeatable over verticals. And if you've got a lightning offer, you got a lightning product that's going to really help them drive ACR today or help them remove a roadblock, then you get to the stew. The stew evaluates who you are, and then what do? They put you in touch with all the right people. That is the Valhalla portion of working with Microsoft, and you want to get to there. Okay, what do the sellers want to see? I know we're coming up at that time. They want to see 3 pieces of collateral: a one-pager, a PowerPoint, and an infographic. And it's all about what does it mean to them. Okay, what does it mean? Last thing I want to cover here, EA to CSP. This is huge. Any one of you have clients between 500 and 2,500 seats, you now have the opportunity to go to go to market and get some of those deals. So with that being said, I'm sorry I ran out of time here. This actually went like lickety split. We do have one last poll. If you could just hang on for a quick second, I think it has to do with next month's engagement. If we could just go ahead and throw that one up here. We're just curious if you want to see an AI one. We got a great security expert on AI that's going to come in and talk about how to secure AI. I'm just curious if anybody feels like that would be something that they'd be interested in. Security, not just AI. We've been talking about AI a lot, but security in AI. If you guys could just go ahead and vote, I'd really appreciate it. Gives us a little bit of guidance on what to think about. We're talking about DLP, what to think about, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so let's go good. All right. Anyways, hey, everybody, thanks so much. Today was a whirlwind of things. I hope you got something good out of it. We really appreciate everybody coming to these calls. We'll talk to you guys next month. Have a great afternoon. Take care.
Yeah, we also, last thing I'll say, Sherman, I hope you guys can join us. If you go to the page next month, we're going to be talking EA to CSP. So I know Reva put the link in the chat window as well. We got some great content coming up. So I hope you guys can make it.
Thanks. Okay, take care.